4 years old, father of 3, and the founder of Hayes Climate Control, a business I built with my own hands, my own sweat, and more worn-out boots than I can remember. When I started, it was just me and a rusted van with a door that wouldn't close unless you slammed it twice. I spent years crawling through attics hot enough to melt plastic, and under houses full of spiders that looked older than Austin itself. But people trusted me, one by one, job by job, summer after blistering summer. I built a reputation, honest work, fair prices, never leaving a family sweating in August. Now, 20 years later, I've got 8 full-time guys, 3 service trucks, and contracts with half the property managers in Travis County. I might not live in a mansion or wear a suit to work, but I carved out a life I was proud of, and for 20 years, I thought I shared that life with the woman I loved. Vanessa Hayes. She was 22 when I met her, working at a downtown hotel, answering phones with that soft, calm voice that made even angry customers lower their tone. She liked my drive, she said, liked that I knew what I wanted and wasn't afraid to go after it. Maybe that was true back then. We were young, hungry for a future we didn't fully understand. A year later, we had Ethan. Madison arrived 3 years after that. Connor, our surprise baby, came when we'd almost settled into routine. 3 kids, 20 years of marriage. A home filled with school projects, birthday decorations, late night homework at the kitchen table. I believed all of it was anchored in trust. That belief was the first thing to die. The signs didn't come in dramatic flashes. They came like slow leaks, small, easy to ignore at first. Nights she stayed late at the Grand Meridian Hotel. Days she seemed distracted, tapping her phone like it contained oxygen. Times she brushed off my questions with sharp answers that didn't match the woman I'd known for 2 decades. At first, I chalked it up to stress. Event planning is chaotic. People panic over centerpieces and timelines, budgets and last-minute demands. I wasn't about to be the controlling husband who questions every late night. But patterns form. Patterns tighten. Patterns suffocate. The phone was what made my gut twist. She used to leave it anywhere on the counter, on the bed, plugged in by the nightstand. Then, suddenly, it was glued to her, locked, face down, protected by a passcode she conveniently forgot to mention had changed. And when I asked about it, she laughed. The hotel updates their security protocol every month, she said. Everyone has to keep their phones locked. Corporate policy. Except her eyes didn't match her smile. Her shoulders tensed the way people do when they're hiding something and hoping you won't look closely. I pushed it down. I tried. God knows I tried. I kept working. Kept cooking dinner when she came home late. Kept pretending the tension wasn't turning the air in our house thick enough to choke on. But on a Tuesday morning in March, everything snapped into focus. Vanessa's car wouldn't start. Just a dead battery, but she panicked. Big event at the hotel, important guests, her boss counting on her. I handed her my truck keys and told her to go. She kissed my cheek, thanked me like everything was fine. After she left, I got her car started with the help of Rick from the auto shop. And for reasons I still can't fully explain, I decided to clean out her glove compartment. Just a harmless habit of mine. She always left receipts and junk everywhere. But beneath the hotel brochures and old insurance papers, I found a motel key card. Riverside Inn, a cheap place off Highway 7, 30 minutes outside the city, the kind of place nobody stays unless they want to disappear. My chest tightened. My hands went cold. I kept digging. A small box slid forward. Jewelry, sized, except inside wasn't jewelry. It was protection. A pack with 3 missing. I remember staring at the box, immune to the sunlight warming the windshield, feeling like I wasn't inside my own body anymore. Like I'd stepped outside myself and was watching a man discover his marriage had cracks bigger than he realized. I didn't call Vanessa, didn't scream, didn't slam anything. I'm not built like that. In my line of work, you don't guess what's wrong. You test, inspect, verify. You gather every fact before you replace a single part. So I went to an electronics store in South Austin and bought a small GPS tracker. A magnetic one. $95. I attached it to Vanessa's car that night while she tucked Connor into bed. The next day, I watched the little blue dot on my phone. She drove to the Grand Meridian, clocked in, stayed until 2 in the afternoon. Then the dot drifted south, straight to the Riverside Inn. She stayed 3 hours. 3 hours in a cheap motel room in the middle of a workday. That night, she came home smelling faintly of hotel soap, smiling like she hadn't dismantled our entire marriage. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I wanted truth I could hold in my hands. Truth that couldn't be twisted by tears or excuses. So I planned. Friday, I told her I had an emergency installation job in San Antonio. She barely looked up from her phone as she said okay. Didn't question why it was so sudden. Didn't ask when I'd be back. That was when something in me hardened. I packed my duffel bag, loaded the work van, and drove 15 miles south to a truck stop where Tom, my friend since high school, waited with his Ford Explorer. Tom didn't ask questions. He just nodded and drove. We circled back toward Austin, staying off the main roads, parking across from the motel with a clean view of the lot. I had a long lens camera borrowed from my buddy who shoots real estate. At 6:30 p.m., Vanessa's car appeared. She parked near room 117. 10 minutes later, a silver Lexus glided into the lot. Nelson Palmer, her boss, married, father of 3, fake smiles and firm handshakes. I'd met him twice. He knocked on 117. Vanessa opened the door wearing a dress I'd never seen. He cupped her face, kissed her. They disappeared inside. I took pictures, dozens. The lens shutter clicked like a quiet metronome measuring the collapse of my life.
Tom muttered apologies. I didn't respond. My pulse was steady. My hands didn't shake anymore.
The decision had already been made. I was going to end this marriage, and I was going to protect my kids. 2 hours and 43 minutes later, they emerged laughing. She leaned into him. He held her waist like she belonged to him. I captured everything. By the time we left, I had enough evidence to bury a career and end a marriage. I pulled out my phone and dialed a number I'd found 3 days earlier in a company directory. Vanessa accidentally left at home. Rachel Palmer, Nelson's wife, she answered cautiously. "My name is Dorian Hayes," I told her. "I think you need to hear something about your husband." And my wife, The silence that followed was long and trembling. "Send me everything," she said, voice sharp enough to cut glass. I did. An hour later, she called back. She was a family law attorney, experienced, smart, furious. We met Monday morning with her private investigator, a no-nonsense ex-cop named Diane, who had already gathered 14 documented meetings between Vanessa and Nelson. 14, Rachel showed me financial records. Nelson had spent over $23,000 of their joint money on motel rooms, dinners, gifts. She froze their accounts that morning. $8,000 was missing from my savings, withdrawn in untraceable amounts, Vanessa's attempt to hide her spending. Rachel laid out the plan. We would coordinate our divorce filings, present evidence simultaneously, freeze assets, and hit them both where it hurt legally, financially, emotionally. It was ruthless, efficient, precise, exactly what they deserved. I spent the next 4 days preparing. I rented a storage unit, moved my tools, my father's watch, my grandfather's land deeds, 50 acres Vanessa didn't even know were solely mine. I verified with my lawyer that Hayes Climate Control was protected. It was my separate property, untouched by the marriage. I acted normal at home, cooked dinner, helped Connor with homework, listened to Vanessa lie about work events, smelling like another man's cologne beneath her hotel soap. Friday morning arrived like a storm. I woke early, showered, dressed for work, kissed my kids goodbye with a heaviness they felt but didn't understand. Ethan watched me with sharp eyes, sensing the shift. Whatever happens today, I told him, take care of your brother and sister. He nodded slowly. He was already piecing together the truth. At 9:00 a.m., I stood in my lawyer's office as we filed for divorce. Rachel filed at the same time. At 9:30, process servers delivered papers to both Vanessa and Nelson. My phone exploded with calls. I ignored everyone. By noon, the judge granted me temporary custody and ordered Vanessa to vacate the home by 6 p.m. Rachel secured an asset freeze on Nelson. His accounts were locked, and by 2 p.m., the hotel chain suspended him pending internal investigation. I went home at 3 p.m. The house felt different, lighter somehow, like years of tension had evaporated. On the kitchen table, I placed 3 items: a photograph of her and Nelson at the motel, kissing beneath the neon sign, a bank statement showing her hidden withdrawals, and a locked box containing all the evidence Rachel and I had compiled. No note. Truth doesn't need explanation. At 3:30, Connor and Madison came home. I hugged them tightly. When Ethan arrived, he looked at my face and understood. We sat in the living room, the 4 of us. Your mom and I are getting divorced, I said. She made choices that hurt this family. You'll stay here with me. Ethan swallowed hard. I saw them, he whispered. 3 months ago, at the motel. I didn't know what to do. That night, as the 4 of us sat eating dinner together for the first time without secrets poisoning the air, I realized something. They had destroyed our marriage, but I had saved our family, and for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe again.